Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid Episode 14. I believe it's 14, I always forget the numbers because like I say, I mix it up with JoJo's, I don't know. But it's an episode and it happened, and Mighty Brothers was kind of involved. I actually thought that the Mighty Brothers storyline was going to be much more of a focus of this episode than it was. I mean, not like it wasn't in it, it was at the beginning, and then at the end, and you know, it's still present and prominent, I guess you could say, but like, it just wasn't as important as I thought. I mean, okay, I'll get to what I mean. Like, first of all, the episode started off, we moved past the cliffhanger from last week, and then we flashed back to it, which was kind of just a weird choice. And it just kind of revealed that after Emu transformed, he basically argued with himself for a minute, de-transformed, and then passed out. And they're like, oh my god, there's two of them. And then they sort of touched on the fact that that bit that Emu does when he goes into Genius Gamer M mode, where he gets all serious, and that's probably how they split, which is a really cool idea, actually. I really like the idea of it being split between serious gamer Emu and the little punk whiner Emu, because then we can just kill punk whiner Emu and then get him over with, but that probably won't happen. But I like that idea, and I don't want to prematurely say they're not going to take advantage of it, but in this episode, I don't think they did, meaning that when they started to explain that, I liked that idea, and I didn't even think about that, to be honest. But they talk about that idea a little bit, and then at the end of the episode, it felt very unearned how he just learned how to use the co-op form. Like, at the beginning, he's like, oh no, I'm M, we can't agree, and they pass out. And then at the end of the episode, they're just like, hey, look, it works now. It's like classic Toku garbage there. Like, I thought it would have been interesting to have like an episode, or even like a couple episodes where there's kind of a struggle to use it, where sometimes he can get along, sometimes he can't. Like, it just can make the storyline, not drag's not the right word, because that's a bad, but like, you know, take advantage of the storyline. Like, I'm thinking of the word milk now, which is also a bad word. Not a bad word, but you know what I mean, like it's got a negative connotation. I'm just thinking, like, take advantage of the material you have. I think there was some potential there for him to sort of have to learn to essentially work with himself and balance the two aspects of his personality instead of just a classic Toku solve. And it wasn't even a classic Toku solve because I don't even know why it was solved, but maybe it'll be more in the future. We clearly haven't solved why he faints. Maybe that'll be part of it, but it just, I kind of hated that he was able to use it so easily by the end of the episode, and there was really nothing that I can think of in the middle that explained it, unless I missed something, so that kind of bothered me. But I do like the aspect of them being separated into non-whiner Emu and whiner Emu. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes, though. But there's a cool concept there, and like, we almost got to the whole end of the episode, I was like, they're not even going to touch on like him being infected with the virus and stuff, and then at the end it was when Snipe took some sample of his blood and found out, as most people suspected, he was infected with the Bugster virus. I did think it was funny though, because that like girl that's kind of dressed like she was possessed by Ryutaros was saying, oh, you took a sample of his blood. He's like, yep. And like, I thought when they flashed back to it, I thought he was going to get like a syringe, and he just like wiped it off of his cheek, which I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny, because you know, he's like a doctor, you'd think he'd get like an actual blood sample, but... So he's got the virus. That's pretty expected. The general concept of the writers in general using evil to fight evil, meaning that their powers are somehow tied or closely relevant or whatever to the main villain's powers is a thing. And there's been a handful of storylines about the main writer being very connected to the evil, even being a monster themselves. I guess that dates back to original writer premise in general, but you know, you got Fives was an Orphanok, you got Edgy becoming a Greed, Blade becoming an Undead, Gaim becoming an Invest, so it's pretty familiar territory. I'm curious to see where they go with it, whether it means he's actually dying, or whether he has some sort of immunity that sort of lets him harness the power of the virus, almost like the way Haruto was able to harness the power of the Phantom inside of him, or maybe it's going to have a different effect and he might turn into a monster like those other ones I just mentioned. So we'll see. It's pretty predictable right now, but we'll see if they do anything different with it. But at least there was that explained. I'm still not sure how plugging it into Emu really helped all that much figuring out how to make Paradox's Lockseed. I mean, Gasha, but we'll find out. But there's at least some interesting stuff there. Like, it's not like I'm bored of it. It's kind of cliche-ish, but at least I'm interested to see where they go with it. And at least they did explain it there at the end. It was just weird that I thought all that stuff about Emu and the Bugster virus and the Mighty Brothers was going to be the main focus. And then the main focus actually, or at least what I felt, for like the core middle of the episode, wound up being about the patient. And because last week it was kind of interesting because he's like, yeah, I got the game disease, but I got cancer, so it doesn't matter anyway. But then this week Emu was like, oh, it's just because he thinks Brave can cure him. And then Brave cured him. And there was like a weird scene that didn't make sense to me where Emu was like, well, you're just too afraid you're going to fail. So you're going to give me my gas shots back now? It's like one of those conversations in Toku that just makes absolutely no sense to me. It's just, I don't know. But, so that was a thing. That was like an okay storyline. I thought it was interesting in the first place to have a patient who was already terminal from something else and they had the game disease. But I don't know. Maybe there's something more there I was missing. I just kind of wish, like, I didn't mind that story existing, but I just kind of wish Mighty Brothers was the focus of it, with more of that stuff, with him being able to use it. And maybe, why isn't he more curious about why it happened? It seems like everyone else is more curious about why the Mighty Brothers thing happened in general than Emu was. So, I don't know. We'll find out. At the very least, we're getting Paradox's debut next week, and it's another, like I've been talking about, back-to-back debut. But at least something that's kind of nice about this is that Mighty Brothers and Paradox's, I think I might have mentioned this last week, but they're kind of intertwined in terms of them both using like that dual gear Gashat thing. So like, I'm not as bothered at them being introduced back-to-back because their introductions were very close-knit. So yeah, but so that'll be an interesting thing next week as well. And also the last thing I want to mention before I get to the score and the buy and everything was, man, Genom is savage. He was just like making all kinds of remarks about how Ex-Aid was using Laser's bike. He's like, oh man, using Laser's bike, is it a comfortable ride? And then he like takes out the Sparrow arrow thing and he's like, well, let this memento bring you pain or whatever. It was just savage stuff, and it was kind of awesome. But anyway, that's about it. This episode I think was pretty solid. I would probably give it a 6.7 just because I'm kind of bothered that by some of the explanations and like lack of focus on certain things, but it was still solid stuff. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure at the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.